Hello, welcome back to Hazel Jane Tarot. Today I'm going to be talking about my favourites from April 2021. The deck I worked with the most this month was the Gaian Tarot, and while I flick through a few of these cards, I just want to talk a little bit about my YouTube favourites for this month. So first of all, a very big welcome to my new subscribers. I had quite a few new subscribers this month, and a lot of that is down to a few shout outs that I received on other channels this month. So first of all, a big thank you to Don Michelle over at Boho Tarot. I had like 40 new subscribers on the day that Don Michelle posted her favourites video for last month where she mentioned my channel. So look, thank you so much, Don Michelle, for sending so many of your viewers my way. So if you came here and you've stuck around, thank you so much for coming. And also a big thanks to Emily's Tarot Magic. Emily gave me a bit of a shout out on her channel as well. And I saw a spike in my subscriptions that day too. So I really appreciate that. And I will, of course, link both of their channels down below in the unlikely event that you happen to be watching me but haven't heard of them yet. So that was really special this month. And this month my subscriber count went over 500. So yeah, that was really exciting. I mean, I try not to get too caught up in the analytics. I don't really look at how many people have watched my video or how much of the video they watched, because I really enjoy making the content and being part of the conversation and talking to people in the comments. But when I reached that milestone of 500 subscribers, that was really exciting. So to all of you who are watching, who are subscribed to my channel, thank you so much. That really has given me a lift this month. A few other things that I really enjoyed watching this month, a couple of channels. I mean, I've watched so much YouTube, far too much YouTube probably. But there've been a few really interesting things going around. So first of all, the hashtag formative decks that was started by Tarot Map, and I think it was the Living Wheel over on Instagram. I have done a VR to that, which hopefully will have uploaded by the time you're watching this. My upload speeds are disastrous. Like, it takes about 4 days for my new a new video to upload. So I'm going to try to start keeping them a little bit shorter so it doesn't take so long for them to upload. But yes, my formative decks, I really enjoyed making that, but especially watching. I have just been searching that tag and watching everybody's videos, and I found a few new channels that way too. So I really enjoyed that tag. I also, I mean, there's so many good videos that I watched this month. I really enjoyed Amethyst Ascension's interview with Annabelle Wen about the Revelations edition of the Spirit Keeper's Tarot. I really enjoyed James Fanny's video about receptive magic. He's been making some really interesting videos recently. I love Old Soul Mermaid, and I was watching some of her videos, and then Candy Soul and Soil did a VR to her about where she stores her decks, and she had this great video about magical corners and cupboards. And so I really enjoyed that one. And of course, there was the big event on TarotTube this month was Papa Squirrel surprisingly sold off most of his tarot decks, and did some videos about collecting and about his reduced size of his collection and so on. And that was really interesting to watch as well, and some of the responses from others in the community to that, and to the idea of curating a collection, what size of a collection we should have, and so on. I personally have about 80 decks altogether at the moment, tarot and oracle, and it seems to me that's probably a few more than I'm really going to be able to work with. But at the same time, I don't have a problem with my collection at the moment. I have really enjoyed and having the retail therapy of purchasing some new decks throughout the last year. And I enjoyed, I think it was Anna at Astro Lady Tarot talked about shopping your collection, or browsing your shelves in the way that you might browse online for a new deck. And I've been enjoying that as well. I love my collection at the moment, and I will tell you in a little minute about some of the ways I've changed my collection this month. So anyway, this is the Gaian Tarot. This is the independently produced edition. It's by Joanna, Powell, Colbert, and this edition is available from Joanna's website directly. There is another edition that's mass market from Schiffer. And I used this deck a lot this month. So I used it for daily draws. I have a little easel, and one of the things that I did was, say if I pulled a card for the week, like this week just gone by, I'd pulled the Chariot from another deck in a week ahead reading, and the Chariot was a really great card for me last week because I've been struggling a bit with my workload and with my mood as well, and the stress, and I really needed to get things moving forward with some big work projects that I was facing. And so pulling the Chariot was really great, but I was like, okay, how can I get things moving forward? So the Chariot in this deck is the Canoe, and I kept that out all week on my little easel. And then next to it each morning, I would say, okay, how can I move forward this week? How can I get that Chariot energy today? And say I'd pulled the Seven of Fire, then I'd display that next to the Chariot for the day, and I'd kind of have that in my head. I'd have that in my head for the day, you know. So sometimes, you know, for example, it might be something like, okay, how can I move forward today? You need to maybe be decisive or make decisions. You know, how can I move forward today? It could be, you know, you need to collaborate with others, you know. So I would take a short message from the other card that I'd pulled. So I had 2 pieces of beautiful art on display instead of one, and got some advice for how to move things forward for the week. And I actually did get things moving a little bit with work this week. So, so that worked out. So that is the deck that I've been using the most. I used it for some readings on Instagram, and I also used it for week ahead and new moon kind of readings as well. So that's the Gaian Tarot. I also this month used this deck quite a lot, and this is the Story Medicine Tarot. So I had this sitting up next to my bed, and at night time I have like a diary that I was gifted at Christmas that I keep upstairs to write in at bedtime, you know, any thoughts on the day, and it tends to be towards the more spiritual, reflective type of content rather than this is what I did today. So what I was doing then at bedtime was I would pull one card, and then I would just reflect on, you know, where I'm at in my personal journey and what message I felt the card had for me. And sometimes I would look it up in this little booklet. The Story Medicine Tarot does have its own sort of unique system and perspective. But mostly I work with this deck quite intuitively. The actual sort of learned tarot card meanings are very much in the background when I'm working with this deck. So I used the Story Medicine Tarot most evenings, where I pulled a card from this deck and looked at it and reflected on it and thought about it. Some nights I was too tired and I just fell asleep and didn't do this, but when I was fit to, I did use it. So I must do a full review of this deck actually, because there's a lot to say about it. It's quite a unique deck. So that's the Story Medicine Tarot, and I was using that for sort of nighttime reflections, personal reflections. I started something new this month as well, where on Instagram I decided I would do some quick readings, and one of the decks I used for that was the beautiful Korea Tarot. So just thinking about, you know, having a tarot collection and how to use the collection, I had kind of got a little tired of posting my own daily draws on Instagram. And sometimes maybe the meanings that I was deriving from my daily draws were quite personal, and it's maybe hard to share those on any kind of a consistent, regular basis, because maybe some days I might not want to, and so on. So what I decided to do was actually do some readings specifically for my Instagram followers. Now, I'm not a huge believer in, you know, the big reading for the collective. So what I decided to do as much of an exercise for myself as a reading for my followers was to pull 3 cards, and I was using reversals with this particular deck. So I would pull 3 cards, and then I would create kind of like a sentence from those cards. And or a very short reading. And then I posted the photograph and my interpretation as a sort of a reading for whoever needs it. So that if somebody was reading came across my post and thought the message was resonant for them, then great. And if not, then that's fine. But it was an exercise in working on making short, pithy readings from a 3-card spread, and also in using some of the diverse and beautiful decks that I own, where maybe I'm focusing for my own personal work with one deck, that I could use Instagram as a way of working with some of my other decks. So that worked really well. So I used the Gaian Tarot for a week. I used this beautiful Korea Tarot for a week. And just before I move on from this, I'm very often asked in the comments how to get this deck. This is a Korean deck. I purchased it through a Korean bookseller, a Korean language website, and I was assisted in doing that by somebody from the tarot community. So I was assisted by someone from the tarot community who I had met in one of the Facebook groups, who is living in South Korea and who helped me to purchase this deck. I sent him the money and he purchased the deck for me and had it sent this way. So it wasn't straightforward to get this deck. So unless you speak Korean and can read Hangul, or you have a friend who could help you order, I can link the website below, but it's very difficult to go about ordering it without some help if you don't speak Korean. So that's the beautiful Korea Tarot, and I used that for some Instagram readings. And 2 other decks that I used for Instagram readings this month was the Wisdom of the Oracle and the Oracle of the Mystical Moments. As you'll have seen in my formative decks video, if you watch that, the Wisdom of the Oracle is really a formative deck for me, and I just wanted to use it, and I thought the 2 of these decks worked really nicely together. So what I did was I had 1 Oracle of the Mystical Moments card and 2 cards from Wisdom of the Oracle, which I work with reversals as per the guidebook. And then I was again trying to come up with a coherent 3-card reading that kind of summarized the message of the 3 cards together. So sometimes the card from Oracle of the Mystical Moments would seem like the principal message, and other times one of the other cards really stood out. But I really enjoyed visually how they looked together, and it was lovely working with these decks again, because I hadn't pulled particularly the Oracle of the Mystical Moments. I hadn't used it in a while, so it was lovely to get it out and use it again and see how it spoke to the other Oracle deck. And I mean, very often when I would pair decks, it's like an Oracle and a Tarot, so it was nice to use 2 Oracle decks together and see how they worked. So I used those for a week of Instagram readings as well, and that was lovely lovely to work with too. So as you can see then, for my own personal readings, I predominantly worked with only 2 decks, the Gaian Tarot and the Story Medicine, but then for Instagram I was able to use other decks. I did use a selection of different decks as well. I think I tend to pull in the Mother's Wisdom deck for my month ahead, and I would tend to also use a range of decks for, say, like a full moon reading or something, but those were the ones that I used predominantly this month. Now, a few other little treats this month. You'll have seen, maybe I posted a video about this. I got my first Kelly Bear tarot pouch. Kelly's bags sell out really quickly, so it was a bit of a scramble to buy this, but I got this really cute little felt handcrafted bag, and I am keeping my beautiful Korea Tarot in this, so that was lovely to get. And another real treat this month that arrived was the guidebook for the Painted Tarot. The Painted Tarot is a beautiful art deck by Sophie McKay Knight, and there was no guidebook for it when it was first published. And since then, Sophie has created this guidebook booklet. It's actually, there's quite a lot in it. You have the meanings for each of the cards. But you also have, so you've got that's nice in its full colour, but you also have these other articles which explore some of her process, like the art exhibition that accompanied the creation of the deck. And there's also some stuff on her process and the models she used and her thoughts about some of the imagery that she created. So all of this was really lovely to read and definitely gives like a lot more. I think it's a wonderful companion to have for the Painted Tarot, which is a readable deck just as a Rider-Waite-Smith based deck, even without this guidebook. But I mean, this is a lovely thing to get. So if you order the Painted Tarot now, this comes along with it. But if you have previously ordered the Painted Tarot and got it without a guidebook, Sophie will send one of these out to you, the creator, free of charge, if you approach her and you haven't previously made an order. And one of the things that just was so sweet and I was really delighted to see was on the back of the booklet where she mentions online reviews of the Painted Tarot. She included my channel in the list of channels that had done a review of the Painted Tarot. So I was really touched and delighted to see that. So yes, Sophie McKay Knight, the Painted Tarot. This is the guidebook that is now available with any new purchases of the deck. So that was lovely to get. I purchased a couple of books this month that I haven't really read yet, but I'll just show you because I was excited when they came in. I am involved in a little sort of informal online tarot group. A few of us have become friendly and are meeting on a monthly basis on Zoom, and we decided to work through a book together, and this month we started looking at Tarot Interactions by Deborah Lipp. So I've got a few chapters into this and have enjoyed some of the activities. So yeah, I'm only like 2 chapters in, I think, but this has been a good read so far. And I also received, very excited, Rebel Witch by Kellyanne Maddox. What a beautiful book in terms of like just a physical object. This book is gorgeous. Kellyanne Maddox's channel is amazing. I'm a big fan. I've been following her since I first found out TarotTube was a thing, and I can't wait to read this. I haven't been able to get started yet because my book group that I'm in picked a very long book this month, and it took me most of the month to read it, and I'm not including it in my favourites because it was just okay. So now that I'm finished it, I'm looking forward to hopefully this will be something I can get really into reading in the month of May. So let's see, before I go on to new decks for the month, I'll maybe have a wee chat about music. So if you recall last month, if you were here for my favourites, I was a little bit obsessed with Leslie Odom Jr. And I started off the month listening to his album Mr. A few more times. This got heavily played last month and into the start of this month. And this, towards the end of this month, this has been my new obsession. So this is a group called Fanny Walked the Earth, and it is these 3 women. So they're on YouTube. My partner stumbled across a group called Fanny, who were an all-female rock group in the early 70s. So hopefully this will focus. You can see the photographs in the notes here. So in the early 70s, Fanny were an absolutely spectacular rock band. I haven't heard all of their music, obviously. I've just heard a few songs that were available on YouTube, and I will link one of the original Fanny videos below so you can go and check it out. As far as I can tell, Fanny's original music is not released on CD, and I have actually ordered a vintage LP on vinyl of one of their albums on eBay, so I can hear it, even though I don't have a record player. So that's going to have to be I'm going to have to get a record player so I can listen to it when it arrives. But I did find out that 3 of the ex-members of the band Fanny had reformed recently and created a band called Fanny Walk the Earth. Now, missing from this lineup is the amazing keyboard player and singer from the original Fanny lineup. She doesn't seem to be involved at all with this project. But Jean and June, who are sisters, with the bass player and the lead player, are there, and Bree, who is one of the drummers from the old Fanny lineup, they're the main part of this band. And then some of the other older band members have come in and played on some of the tracks. It's a great wee album. The music isn't as heavy as the original Fanny music, but it's really good, and I particularly loved the song. It's track 2 on this album, and I'll link it below because it's a great video as well. When We Need Her, which is a beautiful song about, listening to it, you could interpret it as a song about the goddess, and sort of that energy coming to you when you need her. But it can also be about sisterhood and the support of other women, like, there's a line here, calling the ones who have come before, who kick the doors wide open. She comes when we need her. Calling on our sisters and mothers and daughters. She is you, she is me. And I just find that really moving, actually, to listen to. And some of the songs talk about, like, when they were in a band when they were younger, and I just loved it. I love that these women who are older, who are amazing on their instruments, who are just kicking ass, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed Fanny Walk the Earth. So this is the album that's currently on repeat in my car, and it's going right back out to my car after I've made this video. So unfortunately I won't be able to listen to the vintage Fanny album in my car when it arrives because it's on vinyl, but maybe there'll be a reissue of the Fanny back catalogue on CD. That would be fantastic, because I would love to get to listen to all their old albums. So that's been my big musical obsession. A few other things that I've listened to this month. These albums got a couple of spins. This is Laura Marling. I mentioned her in my 2020 favourites. This is her new album from last year, which is called A Song for My Daughter, and this is one of her older albums, A Creature I Don't Know, and I listened to both of these a couple of times this month. Laura Marling is a genius. Her music is amazing, so if you have never listened to her, I really recommend you check her out. I also listened to this month. I really enjoy musical theatre, and as you know, or you might know, I was obsessed with Hamilton for a while there. Hamilton still is wonderful, but a friend of mine recommended I check out this musical, The Wild Party. So I managed to get a secondhand copy of the CD, and it's an interesting show. It's a bit quirky. It is quite wild from as you can tell by the title and the show photography, from the original cast. But some really good songs in it. So I've only listened to this through once, but I'll have to listen to it again. But yeah, that was quite good. And I also got this new album from Declan O'Rourke. Declan O'Rourke is an Irish singer-songwriter, and he is I think, without question, the artist I've seen most frequently live. He has the most beautiful, warm voice, and I have all of his albums, so I would consider myself a big fan of Declan O'Rourke. This album was produced by Paul Weller, who I'm sure have heard of. And it is very much in the vein of sort of acoustic singer-songwriter style music. Some of these songs are actually very pared back. Some have, as you can see, sort of strings accompaniment, but a lot of the songs are just Declan's voice and guitar, beautifully clear and crisp guitar. But some of his other albums are more heavily instrumented, with a full band and so on. Some really good songs on this, very narrative songwriting style, kind of very folk influenced. The songs tell a story. Some of them are quite personal and some of them are more narrative. I'll try to link something from this album below, and I'll also link maybe one of his older songs, maybe Sarah. It was one of my favourites, if you want to check out some of his earlier stuff. So that'll be below as well. So that's it for music. I was going to try to make this video shorter and we're already at 25 minutes. So new tarot decks and oracle decks. You might have seen already, I posted a full review, quite a long walkthrough and reflections on the Anne of Green Gables tarot. This I saw on the Hermit's Cave Facebook group. They were doing, I think it was the Lovers Week, because they're doing like a tag for each card and people are sharing their favourite versions of cards. And somebody shared the Lovers from the Anne of Green Gables tarot, and I just was, there's an Anne of Green Gables tarot. And after a chat with the person who posted the photo, found out where to get, and just went straight and ordered this without seeing any more cards. I just, Anne of Green Gables was totally formative in my childhood, both the TV adaptation and the books. So this was purchased from A Disordered Mind _zines, which is a channel on Instagram, and it's just a lovely deck, and I haven't really read with it yet, but I think this is going to be the deck that I explore sort of inner child related work with. I think it has a really special place in my collection and I love it. So this was just a delight to be able to discover, to purchase. You know, I'm trying to be a bit more, you know, thoughtful with my deck buying and only get things that have been on my wish list for a while. But when I saw that this existed, it didn't get time to go on my wish list. It was just straight in, it was just straight away a purchase. But this month I also did my very first tarot deck trades, and that has been really, really fun to do. So I had sold a couple of decks that were sitting around not getting used over the last couple of months. So I'd sold my copy of the Moonchild Tarot, and I'd also sold the New Era Elements Tarot, the Spirit Within Tarot, and the Believe in Your Own Magic Oracle deck. And then I had a couple of other Oracle decks that were sitting and nobody had picked up on them as a sale. So I thought I'd try the UK Tarot Swap group on Facebook and see if I could do some trades. So I didn't get decks that were on my wish list in the trades. The decks that I had for trade were mass market decks, which probably, you know, didn't have as high a monetary value as some of the ones that I'd already sold. And so I was just open to suggestions, and one of the decks I traded for, so this was, I think, can I remember, the Spellcasting Oracle, I think. I traded for this deck, the Angel Oracle. So as you can see, it's in a slightly older box. I think it's from the 1990s, but it has this big hardback guidebook, which is in perfect condition. And these are the cards. So I haven't really used it yet or read the book yet, but it was absolutely a great experience. And I really like the fact that for the cost of just the cost of postage of a small parcel within the UK, I had that experience of essentially, it was like getting a new deck. And a deck that I wasn't using has been moved on to somebody who wanted it, and I've got something new to play with. So the deck trading really has opened up a way of, you know, expanding or changing, not expanding because you're not increasing the number of decks, but changing your collection over time without creating waste and without spending lots more money, where you can bring in a new deck and move on something that you're not really using. So I will definitely be trading again in the future if I have something that I want to move on that doesn't really, you know, have the resale value. So this looks like a really interesting deck, and I'm going to be using it alongside the Mysteries of Mary Tarot for the month of May. So I'm looking forward to getting to know it a little better. And then another trade that I did this month was the Good Tarot by Colette Reid. Now again, this had not been on my wish list, but I do like Colette Reid, some of her other decks, like the Wisdom of the Oracle that you saw before. And so this I traded for, it's like Santa. I traded this for the Work Your Light Oracle, I think it was. Yeah. And again, really straightforward experience. Somebody expressed an interest in Work Your Light as a trade. I asked what they had available. This was one of the ones they suggested. And I thought, oh, yeah, I'll give that one a go. And maybe It might not be for me, or maybe it will, but I know Work Your Light definitely wasn't for me, and I was ready to move it on. And so instead of just giving it away to a charity shop, which is also what I've done in the past with some decks, for the cost of postage of a small parcel, I was able to get something totally different. So I haven't used this yet. As you can see, it's totally in order. It's very pretty. It's, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be for me or not, but I am definitely going to work with it, although maybe not this month, because I really want to focus on the Mysteries of Mary Tarot for the month of May. But this was another trade. And I also this month traded one more oracle for a tarot, but it hasn't arrived yet. So I'll maybe wait and tell you about that one next month. Although I'm sure as soon as it arrives, you'll be seeing me post about it on my Instagram. And I also did order one more oracle, but it was from Hand Me That Pencil, which is a New Zealand-based artist. And so it hasn't arrived yet either. So I'll talk about that next month too. So if you're still here and you're still watching, thank you so much for bearing with me. And I look forward to seeing all of your April favourites videos as they come out. And yeah, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for sticking around. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.